Philosophy first dealt with the question of existence, and later on with the question of knowledge. At first, the question of existence was because we see that things change. Things can come about and be destroyed. So they don't seem to exist on their own. If something exists on its own, so then it wouldn't be able to be destroyed. So the question is basically brought up by Parmenides, exactly that. So something that must exist can't not exist. Something which doesn't exist can't exist. So there can't be change. So the Greeks struggled with that question for a long time. Eventually Plato came up with this sort of emanation idea from the one or the good that is God. Not as God creating material the universe, but as God as the one, the source of all being by emanation. So he came up with it. There's these different sub-levels that came from God until you get into existence today. But the only thing which essentially exists is God. It's the exists in Himself, and everything else depends on existence for God. That was his answer to the dilemma posed by Parmenides. Now it sounds very familiar because the Jewish Christian world sort of accepted that as a given, but that was the idea of Plato. And then later on, philosophy came up with the question of knowledge. A long time before Kant, that was during the Middle Ages. Obviously, reason was considered the one thing that you can know things from, the only thing you can know things from. Induction or empirical evidence was considered secondary to reason, to the degree that even knowing God was considered by Jewish philosophers like the Rambam or Sadi Gaon to be the only real way of knowing God is by reason. And that was later on the people like Leibniz continued that school of thought, Gödel, Anselm, all these people. Later on then there was the empirical school of thought, John Locke, Hume, that reason is just that awareness comes into people, and by observation, empirical evidence, we see things around us, observe, and then we form ideas based on these observations. That's the empirical school. Well, Immanuel Kant asked important questions about both of these schools and had an answer to the type of what we can know, and that wasn't apparently not a good answer. Most people haven't been satisfied with then, but that sort of brought up that question of knowledge is brought up later, and that's an important question for today's world because the question of knowledge is very important. Now we understand that there was this rationalist school of thought that believed you can know things by reason. And that means that you have to have a set of self-evident axioms, and then you can derive things from reason, or you know things by reason, and you can derive further things by reason. And then there's the empirical school, that we know things by observation. But this is very important because nowadays people think that you can know things by stories, so then it becomes very easy to make up stories and anecdotes, and then people think that they know things by that. According to the Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, the Rambam, and Jewish philosophers, you know things by reason, not by stories or by other things. Other things might give you, give you opinions, but you don't know them. What you know is what you know either by reason or by actual material evidence, not by any other means or by opinions or by feelings. Okay, thank you.